Welcome to the Say Yes Movement Podcast. Hey, Heather, how's it going today?
It's going good, John. How about yourself?
I'm feeling fantastic. Good
Ooh,
energy
tell
this
me more
morning. Good
about
energy.
that.
So I went out for a walk this morning, and it's feeling fresh. You can feel,
Okay.
I don't want to say this because I know it's only August 29th, but actually it's the 30th. It's feeling, you can feel the fall in the air, right?
You,
So you definitely can. So it's definitely a different feeling. But I love the fall because fall to me is also renewal, right? I know it's weird because people think of spring as renewal, but I think fall is renewal because really that's when a lot of people go back into the workplace. It's when people come back from vacation. It's when the kids go back to school. And that to me has always represented the start really of a new year. Not so much January, but more like the fall, like September. I don't know about you. How
I,
about you?
I'm with you. Listen, the fall is a celebration moment because not only is it, the moment where the earth, like the whole earth, the leaves fall down, they decompose, they create all the nutrients that's needed for growth that's going to happen in the spring.
Mhm.
And this is the time to do things, same thing for us, right? What is it that we're going to double down on so that we can make 2024 our best year? Now is the time to start that planning so that we can be successful. And there's one more thing to celebrate, John. Pumpkin spice. So
Oh,
this morning,
yeah,
my
I don't,
coffee,
I
pumpkin
don't know.
spice.
I don't know if I agree with you on that one. I don't. Yeah,
You are
yeah.
not on the pumpkin spice
I,
latte. Now,
I
not the
am not.
Starbucks version. That is full of sugar, but just the flavoring.
I'm not on the pumpkin spice band, like whatever. So I guess this is where we have it for the first time on the show. We
Oh my
have
God, we need a
a
vote. We
different.
need a vote. Who's
Oh
on
my
my
god.
side? Pumpkin spice. And who's on John's side? Knows pumpkin
No
spice.
pumpkin spice. Listen, I've been drinking coffee black for years now. So I actually can appreciate the taste and flavor of and actually last week I had this really good organic coffee that was I don't know where this lady got it from, but it was like so clean and so smooth. But yeah, no, flavored stuff doesn't belong in coffee. And listen, I also have a belief that coffee should not be cold, right? But that's just me. That's my belief. Coffee's coffee, coffee's hot, but that's whatever. We're not going to get into that debate today. I know we can create so much controversy today on whether or not your coffee should be hot, cold, or spicy, pumpkin-y, and whatever. All
Well,
this.
I think it comes down to this, right? Is we have rituals, and pumpkin
Mm,
spice latte is a phenomenon that, I mean, great for the marketing. It does taste good. I like it.
yeah.
But it also is a signal. It's a ritual. It's a, oh my God, the pumpkin spice latte is already out. Or you walk into Costco and you're like, oh my God, the Christmas stuff is already out. Is it already that time? And even though we make a big deal out of it, we're like, huh, it's the next stage. It's the next stage. At least
Mm,
that's how I see it. I don't get depressed. I don't get sad. I get excited because it means another season of my life is here. And it means that I'm going to be 1%
mm,
better than I was the day before that. So that growth that we're stepping into is happening all around us. And, if we take our cues from the earth, what does the earth do to be successful? Well, it hibernates, it settles down, it gets really, really into itself, and then it's ready to flourish. So that's the time that we should be writing our goals down. That's the time we should be journaling. That's the time we should be thinking, all right, what mistakes did I make, or what things would I like to change and do differently in 2024? And that's a great reflection point. Oh, Felicia's never tasted. Okay, Felicia, you are our tie vote. You have to go try it, and then you have to let us know which one. But I'll tell you, it is a little bit sweet, so you might want to not put the whipped cream on it. That's not a good option. So,
One vote for John. All right. No, thank you, Felicia. Appreciate the support and good morning. Good morning. But yeah, no, listen, there's something. So you're right. Hibernating doesn't mean go to sleep for the next 4 months, the next quarter.
no,
Hibernating really means like getting into the work, right? So taking time to, like Heather said, take the time to journal, take time to write the things that you want. And the theme for today, one thing I want to look at, and I talked about this on my TikTok and my one of my videos this morning, was just growth, right? Like how are you growing? And sometimes in order to like go really fast, you have to slow down and you have
Mm,
to write things out, right? You have to externalize these thoughts, these ideas that you might have for what that next phase of your life is going to look like. And if you break it down, and this is what I love, right? Like you just break things down into 30-day chunks, right? Like I know you do your 6 week sprints. I do the 30-day with the 30-day shred. And it's just breaking things down into smaller chunks, right? Because they're a lot more manageable than thinking about, oh my gosh, what's this next year going to look like?
mm-hmm.
Like it's 90 days or 30 days or 15 days or 10 days. Like anybody can do anything for 5 or 6 days or 7 days. Anything, anybody can do anything for a day, right? Like if your goal is to just go walk for 30 minutes for one day, you can do that, right? It
Yes.
isn't so much of a challenge. What gets really interesting, and this is, I've been having discussions around this, is when you start overthinking it. It's like, oh my God,
Mm.
I have all this stuff that I got to do. How am I going to do it? Well, don't think
Yeah.
about all this stuff. Just think about, I talked about this when I did the Ironman, is just think about what that next marker in the water is, right? Think about what that next marker on the road is. Think about that next marker on, the trail. Like you just need to get to that next marker in order to continue on. Because once you're there, it's like, okay, I'm already here. Why don't we just keep going? And I don't know if you've experienced that, where it's like, okay, I just need to get to this one point. If I can get here, then I'm already here. Let's just keep going, right? Like
Listen,
your mind doesn't fight you on this, right?
100%. Listen, when I started my exercise routine, I was, I needed to lose quite a bit of weight. I hadn't exercised. And I said to myself, I'm going to run for one song. And I picked the longest Prince song ever, and I couldn't do it. So the next day I tried again. And the next day I tried again. I think it was the third day I finally got the whole song. It's small little measurements of
Mm,
success that you want to do. And I have I listened to somebody that had a really good momentum action that they can do, and every day they wake up and they ask themselves this question: what happened yesterday that I don't want to repeat again today? And it could be maybe you didn't eat properly, maybe you didn't do your exercise, maybe you procrastinated, maybe you didn't call that friend that you were thinking of, and all you do is make a decision not to do that again the next day. And I was like, oh, that's a really good reflection question. Okay, what happened yesterday that I could improve upon to make my life even better? And, we all have those days. It's not to beat yourself up, but to take that next step of growth and just one little increment. So people always, ask, what should I do first? What should I do second? How do I achieve these big goals? And in fact, the answer is just what me and John are saying. It's what's one thing that you can do today that's going to help you live your best life. And one area of your life that might be the challenging part. So it might be, you want to communicate more effectively. All right, who are you going to talk to? Who are you going to speak in front of? Who are you going to share your story with? It doesn't matter what that one area is, but saying yes to something that scares you is pretty incredible for getting
yeah.
you forward.
Yeah. No, listen, one of the things I also did on my walk this morning is I reflected on all the things I've kind of said yes to over the last year. And if I were to draw a map, if I were to draw, like a guide in terms of things that I said yes to in the last year and a bit, you would look at me and say, what are you like? What were you like? I look at myself and I ask myself, like, what were you thinking? Right? Like, why would you do that? And the truth is you don't know where the yes is going to take you. Right.
And
And this
see,
is
John, I don't see that at all. So I'm just going to challenge you. Like, why? Whose voice is that that's telling you that you said yes to things that were out of this norm? Because I'll tell you, I see a circle around you, and it all comes back to you wanting to be the best version of yourself, you wanting to
Mhm.
grow, and you wanting to experience and be of service. So those three values that
Yeah.
you live by in everything you do circle around, and now you can say yes to all kinds of things. So I just want to challenge your story because it's a little bit crazy, because I've lived the same one, by the way. But
Yeah, yeah.
but it's the values that stayed is the same no matter
Mm.
what you said yes to. And I think that's a really important distinction, is that we can say yes to things that are just going to be life lessons, but as long as we're doing it with our value system, it's going to be okay. It's going to work out.
Yeah. No, yeah, no, absolutely. And yeah. You're right. You're like, it is. Yeah. I don't think I'm actually, I don't even think I'm crazy anymore. I think this is just the way it is, right? Like
A
that's
100%.
100%. Like that's where I'm at right now in my life and just the things that I want to do with it. Like it was interesting because when you work in a corporate environment for so long, you have to fit within a box. You have to be a certain person to get, things done to achieve certain things and hit your objectives and all that other stuff that you do inside of a corporation. But when you're no longer like when there's no more box, right? Like life, I always talk about life is whatever it is you want it to be, right? And for the first time in a long, actually, for the first time in a very, very, very long time, I think the last time I felt like this, I was a kid, right? Like when you're a kid, there's no boundaries. Like you can do whatever it is you want to do, and nobody's going to judge you because you're a kid and whatever. You're exploring, you're curious, you're just fascinated with all the different things around you. And for the first time in a long time, I feel like I'm back into that fascination stage. I can try whatever it is I want to try, and if I don't like doing it anymore, you don't have to do it. Like you can just stop and
No.
just move on to something else. Right. Because when I tell people, like some of the stuff that I do, and they're like, they have one of two looks. It's like, one, it's like, wow, that's awesome. The one thing they do, they kind of like went down a certain career path. They stayed on that path and that's all they do. Right. And other people are like, why don't you just pick one thing? I'm
Well,
like, why do you need to pick one thing?
I think it's important that our audience knows that we've subscribed to that corporate think or that old school thinking. Both of us spent a very many years. I was 26 years. You were how many years at a
I was
corporation?
22. Yeah.
22
22 years.
years. So we have subscribed to that thought process that we know other people have. And then what we did is we said, all right, what if that isn't true? And the more and more you explore something not being true, the more you find out that, oh, wait a minute, I was missing out on seeing the world through a different lens. So we're actually
Mm.
exploring the world through a different lens. And what am I uncovering is, these concepts of even retirement came at a time like the history of retirement was actually to move the older workforce out because there wasn't enough jobs. So this concept of get to 65 and retire is a made up social constraint in order to make sure that there was enough jobs for the younger generation. Well, guess what? We're in a world where you can literally make money online, doing things that you love, being an influencer, writing courses, doing all kinds of things, all the jobs that when I went to school, some of them exist, but some of them don't exist, and all brand new ones are out there. So retirement is a farce. And what if you just were of service till the end of your life? And John, me and you have friends that are definitely older than us, and in a lot of ways younger than us, because their thinking has transformed to this next level of thinking of like, my life is going to be of service, and I am going to use this body to its maximum possibilities to the very last day.
Yeah.
Wow, that is not what retirement was taught us. That's not what our parents did, and that's not what society is telling us to do.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. Well, I have one of my friends, they're in their early 70s and they're still going out there and making an impact and influencing the world. And there's no slowing her down, right? Like
No.
it's not going to happen. The energy, the vibrancy, just the willingness to want to give back to the world in a really positive way is what keeps her going, right? I'm not saying her name just to kind of protect the innocent here, but she to me is a model of what's possible, because I used to have, we're continuing on the theme of growth. I used to have a model of what people in their 60s and 70s used to look like. And I've shared this before. My parents are no longer with us. I lost my mom at 63 and my dad at 73. And if I were to look at that as my models, like my timeline's getting really short. I only have a little bit left, right? But it doesn't have to be that way. And what I've discovered, especially over the last year and a half, is there's things that we can do now that can really create longevity for us.
Yeah.
And it's funny. I don't know why I'm touching my head. My brain's thinking. It's on fire today. The one thing that there's a line that I live by, and I learned it from Sarah Blakely, who's the founder of Spanx, right? She said, the more I experience, the more I have to offer others. And
Mm,
subconsciously, and as you were saying all the things that you were saying, I'm like, I'm doing that, right? Like I'm experiencing and doing things that I never thought I would do. I didn't even know they were within my realm of possibility, to tell you the truth,
100%. Yeah.
right? But we step into the yes, right? We step into, hey, you want to be a professor? I'm like, yes, let's do this. And here we are, right? Like we had a great experience this past week, sitting and understanding what academia looks like, and to be a part of that. Like I didn't even think that wasn't even something I could have thought of, because it just wasn't within my sphere of the world, right? And when you go out and you experience things, you get to offer more back, right? Like this
That's
is
right.
where I love what we're doing. It's when you say yes, you're saying yes to a part of you that wants to be out there. You're saying yes to a part of you that wants to experience and be curious of, like, in a really fascinating way, of the world, right?
Yeah.
So,
And people think,
sorry, go
oh,
ahead.
I have to do the job. And, there's parts of it that I don't love, and that's okay. And, as entrepreneurs, I have to do my taxes. I don't love it. It's just the way it goes. But, ask yourself, are you growing every day? And
Mm,
is the things that you're doing helping others grow? So growing can go both ways, right? I find that when I'm helping someone else grow, I'm growing at the same
mhm,
time, because I'm reliving the moment that I'm either sharing or the experience that I'm imparting on someone. And then I'm watching how they're interpreting it. And then I ask them, what are you going to do with that information? Like, what's changed in your perception? And when people share that, what they see or what they hear or what they're going to do, it's a new possibility that even I didn't consider, because
mhm.
they're taking all their experiences, their life, and pasting it onto that as a new possibility. And then boom, this whole new world just opens up. So that's another way to grow, is to share your experiences and then ask the person, now that you've heard that, what are you going to do with that information? And
Yeah.
it's you want to ask that, especially if you're a coach. If you're a coach listening in on this, you want to ask that question, because you might have meant to have a different lesson learned, but as a coach, as a mentor, as a teacher, you don't get to be the decider of what the other person learns. And let that go. Just let that go and let them learn what the message is that because what's the philosophy that when you're ready, the teacher will show up. So whatever
Mhm.
they're learning from you, let them take that and go with it.
Yeah.
It's really, really important that you understand that as a coach, that person's journey is their journey. You're just there to facilitate and show them, what's possible.
Yeah. No, I 100%, I agree. That's the part I love about coaching, right? Like you think you're sharing something that's going to lead them down a path somewhere, but they open up a brand new path, and you're like, what? Where did that come from? And how did you take that from what I just said? So it is such an amazing experience to live through and to see. And you're right. There are things in what you're like, things in your own personal experience that you don't even see.
Yeah.
But because you share those experiences, right? Like through coaching, you can share your experiences. There's a whole new perspective that didn't even and we're all blind to, we all have a bit of a blind side in terms of what we see and what we experience, and the only way to unfold and see those blind spots is really to share what we know with others.
This
And
is
that
why we
just,
do this
yeah.
podcast, John. This is I mean, both of you and I have had the experience of our listeners coming back and saying, hey, I took this away. And we're like, wow, did we say
What?
that? I don't even remember that part. That's fantastic. Okay. Yes. So listen, if you are a leader of any sort, and by the way, we're all leaders
We are.
because we are always one step ahead of someone in our life, and we can impart those stories. Then, do not hold on to your stories, share them with the world, share them with one person, and see if it's going to be helpful for them. So if you know someone that's going through something that you're a few steps ahead of them, this is the time to ask permission to say, could I share my story of when I was going through something like you're going through? And in fact, I'm having tons of those conversations right now as coaching clients, people that are going through transition. They're feeling older. They're feeling like, I just left my company. What do I do? It's okay. that's your ego talking and not your growth model person talking. And let's get
Yeah.
you curious about what's possible. So I think
Yeah.
that's the call to action, John.
Yeah, no, yeah. Get curious and offer up your story to somebody that needs it today. And I don't think we realize how valuable that is to some, right?
Yeah.
Especially we don't know what everybody's going through, right? But sometimes the one part I like that you talked about is just asking for that permission to share, right? Hey,
Yeah.
can I share this experience with you? And as coaches, that's what we do, right? And that just allows them to open up to be able to receive what we're going to say.
Yeah.
So, take that into consideration, offer it up. Don't just like go in there and just, here's my story and this is what I did. Ask for permission first, right? And
Yeah.
then that part that allows the conversation to continue. But yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely.
It's so important. I always say it like this. I have one story that, it was a transition story for me. I'm not going to tell it now because we don't have time, but I always say, would you like to hear a story where I really grew? Like I really, really grew. And they're like, of course. Like, so they're, also think about the hooks or how do you
Yeah.
make it feel like you're going to be vulnerable? And so they're already trusting that this story is going to be helpful to them. And the vulnerability is so, so important in storytelling. Okay, John,
that sounds like a whole other podcast, Heather.
Absolutely.
Don't start anything that we cannot finish. That's the rule in my house. Don't start anything you can't finish. So
done.
All right, done. So remember, we will be back on Friday. I know we're going into a long weekend, so I'm super excited about that. It is Celebration Friday, so join us and share your celebration. This time we're going to cover the whole summer. Let's celebrate what we did this summer, because the summer or in July and August. So looking forward to that. So just remember, when you shift your mindset, you shift your life. Wishing you all a great one, and we'll see you all soon. Take care, everybody.